Hello, this is Michael J. Emery. How are you doing today? Please don't mind my voice. I'm suffering from a head cold and it's affecting my voice, and so it's a little bit raspy. Recently, though, I've been reading through The Essence of the Heart Sutra. It's a book that captures the Dalai Lama's teachings on the heart of wisdom. And in this book, in the very first chapter, the Dalai Lama describes himself as being a poor practitioner of Buddhism. And I kind of laughed because there's definitely some humility there, but he's probably one of the most recognizable people in Buddhism, at least from a pop culture perspective. Now, what I was noticing, though, in this book, and I wanted to read just an excerpt, I was noticing some similarities between Buddhism, which is a spiritual practice that goes back a few thousand years, and neuro-linguistic programming, which is a relatively recent discovery on how the mind operates and processes information. And if you'll bear with me, I want to read just a short excerpt here, but I find it fascinating. When we speak in general of our aspiration to be happy and to be free of suffering, we are of course talking about our conscious experiences. That is, our wish to experience happiness and to not experience suffering. So let us take a moment to examine the phenomenal nature of experience. We can divide all conscious experience into two broad categories: sensory experience pertaining to the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body, and experiences of the mind itself. Sensory consciousness brings us experiences of physical pain, which we identify and experience as suffering, and experiences of physical pleasure, which we identify and experience as happiness. Our sensory consciousness can thus bring us a certain kind of suffering and happiness. However, experiences of unhappiness and happiness at the level of mental consciousness are far more acute. If we look carefully, we will see that much of our unhappiness and suffering is caused by disturbances in our thoughts and emotions. These are the results of mental afflictions. The examples of these afflictions include the attachment or greed, aversion or hatred, anger, pride, jealousy, the whole range of negative states a human being can experience. All these afflictions, as soon as they arise, immediately disturb our hearts and minds. I find this interesting because this is knowledge that has existed for hundreds, if not thousands of years within Buddhist tradition, and it's very similar to a chart or a diagram that I'm going to show you here, and I'll give you a better graphic image on the screen as I describe what's going on in this process. But essentially, we have an external experience, and it's something that we perceive through one of our five senses. And this experience is then filtered through, and this is what I'm describing here, is the Universal Modeling Process. And it's filtered through our paradigm. So we'll see something, or we'll hear something, we'll taste something, smell something, touch something, just as the Dalai Lama was describing there as the experiences that we gain through our external world. And internally, we process this through time and space, matter and energy. Did it happen just 2 minutes ago? Did it happen 20 years ago? We process it through our language. When you translate something, for example, I speak a little bit of Spanish. When I translate something into Spanish, I don't say it exactly the way that I would say it in English. It just doesn't work that way. We process this information through our memories. We look for associations and generalizations. We process this through our past decisions. As Cialdini outlined in The Psychology of Persuasion, we want to create consistency with what we decide, so we make decisions that typically tend to be aligned so that they support one another. We process this through our meta programs, our personality, our systems of determining how we make decisions. We process this through our values and our beliefs and our attitude in the very moment, which is comprised of our hormones and our internal chemistry, in addition to our general outlook on life. So all of these things are the filters that we process an external experience through. And as we do this almost instantaneously, we go inside and we have an internal representation of whatever it was that we just processed. If we, for example, smell something that we think smells horrible, we probably will go, ooh, that's gross, or that smells horrible. And we have an internal dialogue where we tell ourselves this. Or we might even create a picture of something that reminds us of. Just in the same way, if we see something that we like, we go, I like that. And each one of these responses that are internal, they react and create a change in our physiology. So for example, you've probably seen somebody walk into a bakery, or you've done this yourself, and you can smell fresh bread or cookies or cinnamon rolls, whatever it might be, and you go, I love that. And you notice how my body kind of lifted up as I inhale that. And it's just this change in my physiology as the hormone levels begin to shift and my body chemistry also changes. And this causes a direct change in our state. So our attitude in that moment, or are we more excited, more interested, more curious? And so this then shifts and it affects our behavior. And all of this can happen internally too. Just like if I were to ask you, what is your favorite sport and how do you do it? What do you like to do? Or what is your favorite hobby? Have you ever gone on a vacation and had a ton of fun? Where were you? What were you doing? And if you'll seriously answer these questions in your mind, you'll find that you begin to create this process. It's a modeling process, and you're going to delete the information that wasn't that pleasant or wasn't really important at the time. You're going to distort some of the details, and you're going to generalize, because I could ask you, if the vacation that you were thinking of was a lot of fun, have you ever done one like that? Or if you could go on a vacation in the future, would you do something similar to it? And you're going to look for all the similarities of what you've either done in the past or what you would do in the future. And some people sort for differences. And if you're a person that looks for the differences, you might consider looking for the differences of how what you did, what vacation you're thinking about right now was different in the past, and what you would do for a vacation in the future that might be different then. So I find this fascinating that there's definitely an overlap between the process of knowing oneself, and I really believe that that's one of the elements that's at the heart of Buddhism. Although I'm not a practitioner of it, I greatly respect the spiritual tradition, but I think it's this desire to know yourself. And I think more so than ever these days, these times, it is so important that you know who you are, what you believe in, why you believe it, why you act. Because there are so many outside forces, and I say this from, the term, you can look at politics, you can look at religion, you can look at big business. They're all vying for your attention and trying to cause you to take some sort of action. And that action may not always be in your best interest or in the ecological interests of every living being and the planet. And so the more you know yourself, the more that you can create a truth filter for what is true for you. And you can also create truths that are general also, but so that you can stay aligned to what it is that you believe, so you can stay aligned to your values, and you can move toward the things that you want in life. So I hope this was interesting. Definitely check out this book again. If you're interested in Buddhism, I found it's a very easy read. There's some very enlightening things in here. The Essence of the Heart Sutra. It's the Dalai Lama's teachings on the heart of wisdom. So be amazing. Take care.